What is up, guys? It's Doodoo Poker here, back for another video. Today we are going to be talking about how to play fish on the turn in 3-bet pots. But before we get to the turn, let's just talk about the flop very quickly. Now, when we are on the flop as the out of position pre-flop raiser, let's take a hand example. I'm going to give you a very common spot. We're in the small blind, and the button who's a fish RFIs. Let's say we have a hand like Queen Jack suited. We 3-bet, the big blind folds, and the button who's a fish calls. We know in theory that they want to use big sizing, but you don't want to do this on the flop. Let's take a look at MDA. Because in MDA, even though they're folding more than GTO, you don't want to strengthen their range on the turn and on the river, because remember, the highest EV exploits come when the pot is the biggest. So you want to weaken their range on the flop and not make their range too strong, so we can exploit them more on the turn and on the river. So you want to be ranging on the flop. Also, why don't you check on the flop? Well, let's look at MDA and look at stab frequencies. If you look at the field as the 3-bet pot in position pre-flop caller, the fish are stabbing more or the same as regs, or actually a little more than regs, but that's not the major point. The major point is what size they use. Look at the sizing. The fish do not use small stab sizing like regs. They use bet 50. That means you're going to have to fold more than theory, because you're going to be checking a GTO percentage on the flop, and then the fish is going to use a 50% stab sizing, so you're going to fold more than theory. So 2 reasons why we do not check on the flop. Number 1, there is a slight overfold, as we see. They're on the high end of GTO if we use a small sizing, and 2, if we check, they're going to be stabbing a 50% sizing, and theory would stab smaller. Let's go to the turn. On the turn, we have a decision. We want to look at MDA and see where our incentives lie. Let's say we go back to the GTO wizard hand and I have Queen Jack of spades, let's say. Now we know we're not using this big sizing, so let's go to a 25% sizing. I use my fish strategy and I c-bet range, and the button calls. Now, the small blind on the turn, should I check or should I bet on a blank? Let's say the turn's a 3 of clubs and I have Queen Jack of spades. We need to know if we should check or we should bet. Let's look at MDA for this spot. We see the field as the 3-bet pot in position pre-flop caller, that if we check, the fish are stabbing 10 to 15% more than theory. So if you have a weak hand like Queen Jack of spades on a 10-8-2 3 board and only a gut shot, you don't want to check, because you can't really call a bet. We also see if we go small on the flop, well, now I can go bet 70 and get a 5 to 10% overfold. So you always want to be betting your gut shots on the turn. But how should we construct our range for other parts of it? Well, let's go to notes. We want to check average hands, bluff catchers, any second or third pair hand. So if we go here and I have a hand like ace-8 of clubs, I should never be betting on the turn with ace-8 of clubs. I want to check call down. Conversely, if I have a hand like pocket 7s, pocket 6s, always do the same thing. If you have a bluff catcher, do not bet turn. But if I have a hand like Queen Jack that can't really call a 50% stab, I should be barreling on the turn for a 70% sizing. Also, let's go to number 2. Check, raise, jam, strong draws. Remember, they're going to be betting the turn 10 to 15% more than theory. That means they're going to be weaker than theory, and there is an overfold. So if you have a hand that wants fold equity, well, you could also check, raise, jam a strong draw, because they are going to overfold. There is one exception if the turn is an overcard, so let's go back to the GTO wizard hand. If I had Queen Jack and the turn was an ace or a king, I can bet on the turn as well because there is an overfold on the overcard turn. Number 3, we already went over this, but bet draws that cannot check call a turn bet. If I have Queen Jack on a 10-8-2-3 board, I can't really call a 50% turn bet, so I should just bet myself. If you have complete air, just give up. So if you have a hand like Ace 9 suited on a 10-8-2-3 board, just check fold to a stab. Also, the reasons are because it's very likely you're blocking the folding range if you bet, and fish play rivers in the call line close to MDF for bigger sizings. So 2 reasons why you want to just check fold your complete air. So let's do a recap. We know on the flop we are going to be ranging. We don't want to be checking because the fish are going to stab around GTO percentages, but they stab too big. We can't call a 50% size stab with a lot of our range, so we need to be taking the initiative. Once we range on the flop, we get to the turn. We want to check bluff catchers like second and third pair. We also want to check raise jam strong draws because they stab on the turn 10 to 15% more than theory. If you have a hand like Queen Jack suited on a 10-8-2-3 board, bet on the turn because you cannot call a 50% stab. And finally, if you have air on the turn, just check fold and give up, because you're probably blocking the folding range, and in the call line, fish play rivers close to MDF for bigger sizings. If you enjoy this type of content, please give me a like, please give me a subscribe. New video every single day, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.